In today's video, we're going to be having a quick look at what's going on to really have this slow start to the week. We're also going to have a look at what some of the valuations are for Canva, and of course, what the news is ahead of today. Hello, and welcome to another acysecurities market update. My name is Alistair Schultz, and I'm going to be your host through today's trading journey. The first thing I'm going to be covering today is having a look at what's gone on during the week and why we might be having such a slow start. We have seen most indexes, equity markets, and a variety of other financial markets operating a little bit slow, with not too much liquidity occurring and not too much change in price. So some of us are starting to ask, well, what might have been causing some of this? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown today. The first one is there is a lot of concern over second waves right now. We've seen the US, the UK, we've seen parts of Australia, we've even seen small places through India, all the way through to Beijing and China itself, having a new cluster of infections occurring. And there has been a little bit of the psychological element of everyone sort of having a bit of fear that comes from that. Now, regardless of whether these second waves are going to occur or what's going to happen next, we really do need to be prepared for the situation. There is a potential for another lockdown to occur, at least here in Australia. There has certainly been talk and speculation of at least the state of Victoria potentially entering into another full-scale lockdown. Most governments are trying to avoid that scenario, and hopefully they do. But regardless of that, we sort of do need to consider how the economic impact of this is really going to play out. The other parts that are really playing into this effect and having a little bit of a slow start, leaving that investors a little bit confused, are what's happening with the tensions around the globe. We've got US versus China problems, we have Europe versus China problems, we have Australia versus China problems. Everywhere we sort of look at the moment, there is some level of tension, and that includes trade tariffs. It also includes sort of what feels to be some level of a Cold War, and of course, dispute resolutions going on left, right, and center. So, hope this is also adding to that angst about which way is the market really going to go. And the final one here that's really going to play the most impact is because of the other two, we are starting to see a little bit of a hit on the consumer confidence sort of side. It's been a bit flat. If you look at any of our consumer confidence reports that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, there has been very little to sometimes no change in what people are actually thinking about the economy as a whole. And that includes from the business perspective, the retail perspective, and even the air that we walk around in. You can feel it if you're walking on the street that people are not quite as confident in the safety that they may have and or the business side of things, and of course their spending shows this. So that's something to certainly consider. Now, moving on from that, there is a little bit of news for you to have out from the US. Donald Trump has put a freeze on visas to try and combat the idea of jobs in the economy. He wants the jobs that are available to go to US citizens, so he has put a slew of restrictions over a variety of different visa classes, including high-paid in expat-style visas as well. Now, the other side of this is he's also shut down 4 media agencies that are operating from China in the US, and he has put a thing there saying that they need to be recognized as officials or delegates of China, which then impacts on how the visas look again. So there's something to consider. Naturally, he's always been a controversial leader, and we have seen some interesting things over the weekend, such as his discretion about the idea of if we just tested less people, then we'd have less positive results for coronavirus. Naturally, that's not really going to be an optimal solution, and you need to know how many people are actually being infected, and I would certainly not be advising to take that as advice. Now, the next one is, and this is an interesting one, here in Australia, you may have heard of the company, it's called Canva. Now, as of yesterday, Canva was worth about $3.2 billion as their valuation. Today, they're worth $6 billion. They have, in fact, managed to get another capital raise. They're quite a successful business so far, and they do a lot to do with media and content creation that allow people to actually do it themselves via a quite unique or intuitive platform. Now, what they're intending to do now with the new capital raise, obviously with all the COVID-19 stuff, the work from home interest, they're pushing their own interest into making things useful for collaborational purposes, so that you can have more than one person log in to the same project, and a variety of other aspects and features which they're looking to add to it. Naturally, they've gotten a little bit of a capital raise here. The valuation is in US dollars, so it is a remarkable double up on what their initial valuation was, and we're expecting to see some good things out of them. But more on that later as it progresses. Otherwise, it's on to the news ahead. Now, The news for today, we have a few things coming out. We have the Bank of Japan providing core CPI figures. We also have French services PMI, German services PMI, US services PMI, and of course, US manufacturing PMI. So keep an eye on all of those, especially if you're trading either the euro or the US markets, and of course the yen. They are much later today. We're talking between 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time and midnight. So you do have a fair time lapse to go. So if you do need to do some research before you start those trades, then you do have some time up your sleeve right now. Now, if there's anything from today's video you'd like to get in contact with me about, perhaps you'd like to just get a question to me via an email, please feel free to shoot me an email at talk2al@acy.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so you can get more great content from me and ACY Securities in the future. Have a great trading day ahead.